Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of the F1 2025 My Team Career Mode. I know we said last episode was going to be long because it's getting everything started up and set up. But we've got another relatively long day again because round 2, we're headed off to China, and it's a sprint weekend. So 2 qualifying sessions, the sprint race and the full race. We'll leave this one a little longer. By the time we get to the standard weekends, we'll get to more around the 30-minute mark, I would expect. But head off to Shanghai. Curious to see how this one goes, because at least what we kind of learned from Australia, the kind of progressive traction corners, the AI seems to be quite strong in already. And there's a lot of those here. One of the other things, big rule change for 2025 season, no more limits on the gearboxes. So we'll just be taking a fresh gearbox every race. We still will have to manage the rest of the engine components as the year goes on, but gearboxes, fresh ones every week.
Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
So here we are out on the circuit for our first run in sprint qualifying. Of course, you only get one set of soft tires during sprint qualifying. You get one soft, 2 sets of mediums. So we're out for our first run on the medium tire. It probably won't end up being a very competitive lap time, but it's at least something to get a feel for the circuit, get an eye in to start with, as we were a little bit wide there, into turn 1, turn 2. And then now you can see one of the kind of progressive traction corners, really waiting to get the rear end hooked up out of turn 3, little kink of turn 4, and then into the braking zone of turn 5. Get that car slowed down, rotated, and back on the power. Now, fun little section here, which I'm curious to see how it goes with the new dirty air physics, these high-speed sweepers, where you really got to commit. You can see we're really heating up that front left tire through the right-hander there, as we're putting so much strain. And then another one of these long progressive throttle corners, we're able to just about get on full power. Jack Doohan puts in the first flying lap time to go to the top of the boards, but Gabriel Bortoleto is going to move that down to the 33s. And they're all on soft tires, so wouldn't expect too much. And here's the big traction zone. Long right-handed sweeper, waiting until you can get all the power, trying to do it as early as possible. And now with this huge straight DRS open, and the straight line speed for the AI is proving to be quite strong already. But down into the heavy braking zone, where that is a spot we do appear to have pretty good advantage on the AI, is on corner entry and the braking zones. So maybe we'll be able to make some use of that. The final little left-handed kinks, always a tricky corner to get right, and across the line, a 35.473. Like I said, probably wasn't going to be very competitive with the medium tire on. But here we are out for our second run, final run, on the soft tires. Less than a minute left to go in the session, and starting up this lap. So across the line, using up some of that battery down into turn 1, and we'll see if we can get a better line. And we wash out wide again in the turn 1-2 complex here. We are able to use the extra grip of the tires to make up a bit of that time, but we probably could have found at least a half a second through turns 1, 2, and 3 if we had had a good run as opposed to going wide. But we should be able to gain throughout most of the lap a little bit of rear end squealing around as we head through the hairpin. And now you can see gathering some time. Actually having to do a tiny bit of lift, trying to keep the front tires a little more in check temperature-wise, because it does cause some pain through these next few corners. But we are sitting provisional P2 at the moment, so we are going to need a fair bit of an improvement in order to try and get anything done, really. And out of the corner, you can see gaining lots of time by being able to get on the power so much earlier. We've now found just about 0.7 of a second. And since we're faster starting up, we'll be able to gain that time the entire way down the rest of the circuit. DRS is open. And then into the hairpin. A little bit of locking. If you're listening closely, you can just hear those rear tires chirping a bit on the way in as we downshift the engine braking playing a little bit of a role. And the final corner, relatively safe. Final corner there actually gave up a little bit of time. But we do find about 0.6 of a second is enough to move us up the field. One spot, 21st.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Joshua Pierce, our teammate, up in P9, so taking the car into a pretty good spot. We were about 1 second off of him. So it's kind of looking like it's going to be a tough weekend.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience. The flats, open to the elements location, test their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, and Hamilton. Bortoletto, Pierce, Verstappen, and Liam Lawson. Antonelli, Hadjar, Alex Albon, Doohan, Gasly, Ocon, Carlos Sainz, and Oscar Piastri. Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Martins, and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. Our 11th team have made a real impact on the grid. They've got a brilliant driver lineup. Engineering-wise, they look very settled. Commercially, they've been massively impressive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to have that understanding. Keep bringing the money in from a financial point of view. That's what keeps your team pushing forward. But as a team principal, you also need to have, my belief, is a good understanding of the technological side of this sport. It's so techy. You need to be, in a way, a bit of an engineer yourself.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order.
All right, here we go. No real strategy choices to be made in this one. It's going to be the no stop for the sprint. And the medium tires, though, I mean, the fact that it's even offering a one stop on the softs proves it. It's probably going to be pretty rough on the wear. But here we go. The 5 red lights are out. A little bit of a slow reaction. Hülkenberg got a bit of a jump. We're not quite closing, and some wheel spin in 3rd gear, so Behrman's going to get a little run. We're staying to the outside. A little touch on Tsunoda in front of us. It doesn't do any damage, and now we're going to take advantage of this long outside line as they back up, and we're going to be able to sneak our way in, just kind of alongside. So we're back up to 18th here, so a couple of positions made, but now is where we see the pressure. And, ooh, wide off the back is Hülkenberg, getting a little squirrely on power. And now another big lunge up the inside of turn 5. Just trying to keep it a little cleaner. The McLaren should be able to out-drag us from the corner, and they very much do. It's more about holding that position ahead of Sainz and not letting him get around us. And there's my big first feeling of the dirty air. You see the front end just wash out in that corner. Now Carlos Sainz attacking the left side. Managed to cover it off and get just ahead of him as now he's under pressure from Tsunoda as they go side by side in the rear view mirror. And we're closing in on our first run down the big, long straight. A little bit of a lockup of the rears on the way into the corner. Tires still appear to be a bit cold. It's hard to get the temperatures generated on the formation lap. But now you just see the gap that's opened up as they get off of that corner and open up some serious ground. And as soon as I go off the battery, you see losing tons of time to the cars ahead. But here's where our advantage is. Hard on the brakes, and you can see we're nearly back onto the gearbox of Piastri just as under braking. Granted, there is that big train of cars just ahead of him, making him take a little more timid entrance into the corner, but was quite the run in there. So a couple positions up on lap 1. Of course, you got to get up to P8 in the sprint in order to score some points. That's going to be quite the task for us. Our teammate is started 9th. It looks to be he might still be in that points paying position. And you can see once again a little squirrely on throttle, big gap opening up, but then under braking it closes up. And that's kind of the theme that I saw in this sprint to start with, is that they could really get off the corner much better than me, but on the way into these hard braking zones, which helps kind of balance it out, we were able to make up a fair bit of ground. But, if you're not quite there under on the straights, you can only do so much under braking. And now we've got a Red Bull breathing down our neck, which is going to be a tough one to deal with, because that is a car much higher up the performance charts than we are. And you can actually already see the leaders exiting this long, sweeping turn 13. And actually almost all the way to the braking zone. So that's how far back we are. It looks like our teammates having a little battle up a handful of positions ahead. Tsunoda to the inside. We're kind of blocking off the McLaren of Piastri, but you can see under braking, able to get our nose fully ahead and take the apex nice and comfortably. A little bit of wheel spin on the way out, put me offline compared to the Alpine, but no real harm lost in that one. And away we go. So starting to get a feel for the dirty air at this point and how it's going to behave. We see two cars fighting. It looks like a Williams and the Visa Cash App, and big slide again coming out of turn 3. Another big attack from Tsunoda, although he really couldn't get there. But jumping ahead now, lap 4, and a big lunge up the inside of Jack Doohan. So huge on the brakes there. And we managed to actually move up a position after we've been kind of just tooling around where we were for quite some time. Tsunoda and Piastri fighting behind us. And we are about the halfway point of this sprint race now, and well, we're really only making small inroads. You can see my batteries burned down quite a bit as well in this one. Pressing on. Looks like a Mercedes out in the lead and a McLaren, then 2 Ferraris. So let me do count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It looks like Joshua's fallen to P10 at this point of the race, which is not ideal. It's not great. We'd like him to be in the points. But we're going to jump ahead now, starting lap 9. So the penultimate lap of this race, and still fighting ahead is the RB, I believe is that Lawson? Not sure. But another big wheel spin moment as Tsunoda all over the back of us. Are we going to stay defensive? We are going to hold slightly to the inside. But a big lockup in front of us, and we actually tap Gasly just ahead, and huge oversteer moment getting out of the corner. That should give Tsunoda a pretty clear run. We're going to hold the outside, and he's going to have to just back off as the door kind of shuts. The rear's really giving up on me at this stage of the race. And a huge slide, and into the barriers goes Albon up ahead of us. And that is quite the crash. I think if it weren't for this being the penultimate lap of the race, we probably would have seen some kind of safety car out of that, because that was quite a hit. But it is nice to see in F125 AI do make some more mistakes. And you have to kind of, and they race a lot better. Granted, I think there's still issues with their straight line speed and getting that dialed in, but it's nice to see them be less on rails, less perfect. They fight with each other better. We don't have those huge DRS trains that we saw all throughout the 2024 game, and a big run from the Red Bull, but again, under braking. This time we have to go a little wider, and how much of that was the tires and how much of it was leaving space? Column A, column B, I'd say. As we start up the final lap of the race here. And if we can just kind of hold on to this position, I think it would be a decent result, because the tires had absolutely given up on me at this point. They were feeling pretty miserable. So I wasn't looking forward to how they were going to perform in the race, considering This is only a 10-lap sprint, and the race is 28 laps, I believe. Tsunoda trying to go around the outside. A little touch, maybe. I don't know if I felt that one when I was driving. But just a little rubbing of the wheel to the wing. We've held that position off from him one last time. I'm sure he'll take another good run at us down the back straight. Be his last big overtaking opportunity, but try and be as confident as we can on the brakes and being very tentative on the throttle out of these corners now with how beat up the rear tires were. Very much a rear limited circuit as we go a little bit wide, and you can see the back end just sliding as we come through these corners now. Slowly, gradually getting on power, a little correction of oversteer, and then the battery is on. We're just dumping everything we've got the rest of the way down this straight. DRS open. You can just watch the rear view mirror top middle. Does he make a move? Lando Norris goes for the win. And he is going to have a little look to the inside. Big lock up in front of us, and it causes us to go deep to kind of avoid the extra slowing on the apex. But as a result, we do kind of cover off Tsunoda's attempt at overtaking. Last corner, as long as we get through it safely. DRS open and come home in P15. So we gained a few positions in this one.
Pick up rubber and bring it home.
Driver of the day goes to Max Verstappen. I have no idea what he did.
To the sprint action. Next up, we'll set the grid for the Grand Prix. So we'll see you next time.
Joshua Pierce, P9, just outside of the points in that one, but we did make our way from P21 to P15.
Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
So here we are into qualifying. Now we have multiple sets of soft tires, so we'll follow our regular qualifying strategy. So out on a fresh set of softs for the first run of the session. And let's see if we can't do a little better than what we did in sprint qualifying. Granted, that's not a great start. Basically the same mistake we made in our soft tire run of sprint qualifying. Very wide through turns 1 and 2. I did make an adjustment to my throttle linearity setting between the sprint and the Grand Prix, just to give me a little more fine tuning at the top end of the throttle. So I do need to be a little more careful on the lower end of the throttle. I had it initially dialed into where essentially the first 70% of throttle travel mapped to the first 50% of the throttle application, and then the last 50% was covered by the last 30% of throttle movement. Now it's a little closer to, 1-to-1. It's still slightly towards, I believe it's probably closer to about 60% throttle travel covers the first 50%, so about a 10% differential, if that makes sense. But essentially, the more you move the pedal at the lower end, it responds slightly less to give you finer tuning at the low end of the throttle spectrum. And then when you get to the upper end of the throttle, it was pretty quick to react. So I dialed that back, especially because I need to have that control out of these corners to keep it right at the limit of acceleration with no TC. But here we go, a 34.645. I wish I was paying attention and was looking at what I did in the last qualifying, but I don't know if that's faster than sprint, but we are provisional P19. We're out again, 8.5 minutes, so about the midway point of the session. As usual, this time on a set, I believe, is this the one where we went straight out on another new set because it was going to rain later? Or is this the used set? I actually don't remember. To that point, I think there are going to be some changes coming up to the way that the My Team series is being recorded and developed. Because one of the things that kind of took a lot of time and burnt it out in 24, aside from just the changes they made to the way the AI drove and all that, and the handling, is the post-production time to do it as post-commentary like this, where essentially I record the whole race weekend, get the off-board footage, edit it all down,
Push down to
then just
P19
talk over it
grade.
while I'm literally watching it and playing it, and then doing all that. I'm gonna probably go to live onboard recording, so I'll leave the mic active while I'm driving and just edit around that. It'll still be chopped up into these shortened forms where we skip out the middle, but yeah, I think we'll give that a test run. We'll see how it goes and see if it feels. I'll be more cognizant of trying to give little updates in the middle for areas I think I'm going to cut in. But yeah, I think there's going to be a change coming. I've already shot Japan, so the round 4 would be the first of this new recording style when that happens. 34,306, so a couple of tenths found. Yes, that was a used tire run. So here we are now for the final run of the session on a fresh set of new soft tires. Let's get after it, see if we can't get up the grid. P19 provisionally still, but plenty of cars ahead of us on track. And a little too much on the brakes in the first couple of corners. Does allow us to hold the inside line. But now let's see if we can put those fresh tires to use and make up a little bit more ground with that extra bit of grip. We'll see as drivers are starting to cross the line if anybody's able to jump us and push us further down the grid. We've already found just about 0.3 of a second through the first sector. We're getting the majority pouring over the line now. A better run. That corner, a little correction, but now we found about a half a second. See what the sector split says to Sainz. We're only a couple thousandths off of Alonso in 17th now. It looks like Sainz has jumped up the field. And ooh, big correction. Getting on the power cost us a little bit of time getting out of that very crucial corner. So we are going to be having to burn a lot of battery. Is about holding steady because we were able to make it up on the fresh tire grip. But
And we've been pushed down to P20.
yeah, thank you, Mark. Down to P20. A big lockup into the final corner, though. And you can see the time bleeding away. Lost about 1/10 and a half on that huge lockup into the final hairpin. Taking a lot of curb, and we are going to lose down to 4/10. We could have found about 6 if we were a little better. But where does that put us? 16th. So a decent improvement this time by. And this time a fair bit closer to our teammate Joshua Pierce. He did a 33.6. We did a 33.8. So back to about that 0.2 margin that we had in Australia. And let's get after it.
It's time again then for Formula One in Shanghai. Northwest of the thriving city of over 24 million people is a circuit that first featured in the championship calendar back in 2004. It played host to Formula One's 1000th Grand Prix back in 2019. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles per hour with DRS assistance down the back straight before the cars break into the tight hairpin at turn 14. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Ocon, Oscar Piastri, and Norris. Lawson, Albon, Tsunoda, and Nico Hülkenberg. Pierce, Bortoletto, Lance Stroll, Doohan, Martins, Verstappen, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Fernando Alonso. Behrman, Gasly, Hadjar, and Carlos Sainz will start from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. Our 11th team have made a real impact on the grid. They've got a brilliant driver lineup. Engineering-wise, they look very settled. Commercially, they've been massively impressive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to have that understanding. Keep bringing the money in from a financial point of view. That's what keeps your team pushing forward. But as a team principal, you also need to have, my belief, is a good understanding of the technological side of this sport. It's so techy, you need to be, in a way, a bit of an engineer yourself.
Okay, you were just outside the points last race. Let's see if we can get a top 10 finish this time.
So here we are fiddling with strategy. The two-stop very much on the cards for this one. I think we're going to go ahead and swap around and put the hard tire up first. And that way we can have the medium tire for the rest of the race. Trying to dial it. I mean, the 10 laps on the medium tire felt pretty rough in the sprint. Now we're going to be carrying, especially that middle stint, even a little more fuel. So if we can get a 9-lap stint, should be good. 10 laps on the hard should be all right. But yeah, tire wear very much increased in this one. So here we go. The red lights are up. The long hold and the red lights are out. Decent start this time. Just waiting for the rear tires to grip up. Have a moderate run, but we're kind of boxed in, having to get off the throttle pretty early. We're going to try and go for another one of those sweep around the outside type maneuvers. It looks like there's a slot right next to this Sauber that we might be able to tuck in and be, kind of right near our teammate now. So up into P13 by going the long way around the outside and now getting on the power. And usually an opportunity for some moves here on the first lap. A little bit of a on the brakes, 3 wide with the 2 Saubers. We're holding the inside line as tight as we can, and they back out of it. So now we're just right behind our teammate once again, although this time on the hard tire. He's on the medium. And I now, after the sprint, kind of know what to expect when it comes to the dirty air, although still not sure what to expect on the hard tire. You see the big washout that time, so, not ideal. Not ideal. And a huge front lockup into the left-hander, as I think I got a little too aggressive with the brake balance trying to go 56. So Hulkenberg is through. We've now got Bortoleto on the outside to try and minimize the losses. So we do manage to slot back in, but that was quite the lockup down into that very important corner. But now in the slipstream, you can see closing in the rearview mirror. Bortoleto's got a little bit of run, and we're going to just go for the big, huge lunge. This time, get the car slowed down without a lockup. Little touch of Hulkenberg as he tried to turn in, and through we go. We are back behind our teammate, but now we are 1.2 seconds and just outside of the DRS. Hulkenberg very close with the strong slipstream. Going to have another opportunity to get a run at us. Does he go for it? No, he does not. He stays tucked in. And we'll at least have some relatively clean air for this corner. But he's going to try and look to the inside as we left the door a little bit open, but he makes the wise choice, backs out just a little bit. And now we need to just kind of settle into this race and get figured out what we need to be doing. We're close to the points now with the positions we've made up. I believe that Cash App RB is just the next points. I believe me and my teammate are 11th and 12th now. I don't know. As soon as you take away the timing tower, I forget where I am. But as this stint goes on, we should see these hard tires kind of coming into play and getting a little bit better as the medium tire runners fall off around us. It's the trade-off. But it does seem the hard tire is working pretty decently at the start of this race. Now, does our teammate have the ability to go for a move? No DRS for the RB. Our teammate in the slipstream moving to the outside. Does he get the move done on the RB? He does. We're not quite close enough to make the attack. But our teammate now up a position. We get a pretty good exit, although he covers it off. And we slot right back in behind. A little bit of a wiggle coming off the curb there. But we keep it all nice and into play. We're burning battery. Getting the move done up the inside of turn 1. Ooh, he's going to sweep it around the outside. Does he have the grip to hold it? I think we're just going to have the tighter line handled, and we cut back across, cover off the inside for turn 3. Turn 2? Turn 3? Oh, one of them. And get that move done. And that puts myself and our teammate up into the points-paying positions. P9, P10. Did take quite a bit of battery usage to get that job done. But we now have 2 cars in the points at the early stages. Only 3 laps into this 28-lap race. And let's see. Next up is going to be our teammate kind of closing back to the tail end of this battle ahead of us, the train that has Albon.
Joshua's ahead of you now, and the time last lap, 1:39.1. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are 2 laps old. We think they've got 1 more stop, and you're closing by 0.4 a lap. Keep it going.
And right there, I was asking about my teammate just to try and see, what strategy they're on, because I'm on the 2 stop. He's going to be on the 1 stop. There's a big run from Lawson, but we know that we can kind of hold the outside under braking and get the job done in that one. We don't have to worry too much about heavy defense unless they get a really, really good run, like they're fully ahead of us on the braking. Big wheel spin moment. Again, that curb, real rough to be riding. But it does look like Pierce Joshua is dropping back from that group with Albon ahead, so that's fine. We'll just need to keep up. He has actually closed up a little bit as we jump ahead to lap 5 of 28. So still kind of, as we run, a little bit of damage on the nose of the car from the little tippy taps we've had at the start of this race. Need to be a little better about that. That is going to cost me money even though it's not performance damage. I will take a little bit of pain financially for that one. I think it's usually about a $10,000 reduction post-race for even tiny little damage like that. And here we go, making a move on our teammate. Looks to the inside, switches back to the outside, leaving him the space. Interesting, I didn't realize we were number 1. That's kind of cool. That seems illegal, but that's fine. That was second race of the season, I finally realized number 1 is on our car. Pretty sure the champion's the only one supposed to have that by rules, but hey, is what it is. But we are ahead of our teammate. 1.8 seconds to the Williams ahead. He is behind Sonoda, who is on soft tires. So I'm thinking at this point, the mediums are starting to fall off a little bit compared to the hards. So there's an opportunity to kind of get by our teammate and rush ahead.
Albon ahead, and the time last lap, 1:40.3. Okay, here's the gap that we're trailing the car ahead by, 1.4 seconds. Okay, they're on old hard tyres. Their tyres are 5 laps old. We think they've got 1 more stop. 1.2 seconds advantage per lap. Keep going.
Yeah, once again checking the strategy of the car ahead. Jumping ahead one more time though. Lap 8, about to start lap 9 of 28, and Isaac Hadjar's been disqualified somewhere.
The DRS is stuck open. You're going to have to come in so we can try to attempt to fix. Pit for repairs now.
And we're about a lap early from our pit window, but DRS gets stuck open, so rear downforce significantly reduced for our car now. Straight line speed will be good, but especially coming up through these high-speed sweepers, I've really got to be careful not to lose the car.
Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 2.6 seconds.
I've also not so much got the ability to go as hard on the brakes as I normally would because, again, missing a lot of extra downforce. You see just tiptoeing it through these corners. You see the back end really getting away there, having to make a couple of stabs at saving that. Through goes Lawson. And the hope is that we can get into the pits at the end of this lap and they can get a quick repair in, essentially reset it while we're stopped in the box. But if not, it'll probably be a pull up and retire the car type situation because once it's broken, I'm just going to lose way too much time. So DRS is open. Down, trying to give my teammate a little slipstream while also defending from the Red Bull of Verstappen, squeezing him off.
Box. We're adjusting the strategy.
But bit of a mistake. Rear end kind of locks up on the way in because of the reduced downforce. A little side-by-side contact with our teammate, which we absolutely did not want. But, kind of is what happened. So tiptoeing our way on the way into the pit entry, and let's see if the team can get this fixed. If we still see that orange on the rear wing of the damage screen when we pull out of the pit lane, it'll probably be race done for us. But here's to hoping. We're only a lap early on the swap to the medium, so in we go.
Okay,
Out we go, and indeed, DRS is still open, so that is going to be a retirement. We will hit the pause button and retire from session because, well, we just don't have the rear to work with.
His already record-breaking winning record. It's Lewis Hamilton to the line for victory.
To overcome the difficult circumstances they face throughout this race today, Profiteers, it's not easy, and it really shows a lot of maturity, and you can use this, you can draw on this as a driver moving forward and boost your confidence through the rest of the championship.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've absolutely loved watching that action today, and I'm sure these three have loved taking part. Here come our podium finishers. It's a familiar sight in Formula One, and here it is once again. Lewis Hamilton with the trophy held high, celebrating a masterful victory. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looked like we had the opportunity for points pace, although the two-stop might have done us in. Joshua Pierce out of the points as well. But a DNF in just our second race of the season. Such it is with all the mechanical faults and stuff turned on. That's just kind of how it goes. So there's the repairs as well that I was talking about, the 10K minus. Fan rating is slowly climbing a little bit. Still quite a ways to go before we hit fan rating level number 2, which will unlock some additional sponsor slots to help us get the money going even further. It doesn't seem like we're hurting to make money, so...
Fantastic news. One of our parts is now developed. After completing a single part, it will be ready for fitting. We can select which car to install it on. Parts that have been dual developed will automatically be fitted to both cars. Head over to engineering and the assign upgrades screen so you can take a look.
Thank you. Yeah, so now we're filling out the activities, so trying to focus on some of the development at this stage, because based on what our facilities are at, we can't hire any more people until we upgrade the facilities themselves. So no need to go for a hiring blitz. Engineering, we can also spend a little bit of time, so we're gonna, let's see, what are we gonna go with? Powertrain developments. Probably aero or chassis if I was being smart. We're only going to be able to pick one because they're 5 days and we have 9 days available to us. Oh, I apparently decided not to do either of them. I don't know what past me was doing. But another upgrade is complete, or development is complete. So now both cars will have both upgrades on them from the first race. So we can now develop the chassis assembly. Get that. That should be ready before the Japanese Grand Prix for one of the cars. And we should, I think, have enough points and slots for another development. Aero is in development at the moment. It's me not paying attention to the open slots. We can start development, or research. Sorry, I'm going to have to figure out my terms here because they've changed it now. By having both research and development. But everything else is busy. And we've got a couple developments in process. So we'll go back to the activities. Let's get this dialed in. Yeah, we have a sponsor facility tour. That was the other one I picked. And yeah, now that we're developing some aero, we'll see if we can improve that. And, oh, I guess we do have 2 slots open. Oh, I guess I can't do math. So some extra resource points for a couple development areas, and then we can focus on chassis development as well. So that fully fills that out. Now corporate, so let's see if we can't increase some of this fan rating, get some extra cash on board, and always looking for new sponsors. It's going to be big. A couple messages. Yeah, DNF. That's not a big surprise. Title sponsor loyalty is on the way up, which is great. And then we're still at the bottom of the performance charts, but it's pretty close, basically, from Aston Martin all the way back to us. It's not a huge difference. I think we're sitting on, what, $8.6 million. It's time to start looking at facility improvements. Because we will eventually kind of hit, we're already at a workforce cap. Doesn't seem like we're hurting for money all that much. So why not start getting things improved and get the workforce increased, because I know we need to get the workforce up in order to unlock some of the sponsor stuff. So let's try and get an improvement in every single area, engineering, personnel, and corporate. We're just kind of looking for, I think the way I'm going to do is essentially buy the cheapest one each time. And then as it, eventually it'll hit spots where we need to spend money. Probably about midway through the season, we will start having to think about drivers for next year. We know that Joshua Pierce, as we saw in the first episode, big pay raise coming for him expected for season 2. And I'd like to be able to keep him. We do have kind of eyes on other drivers just in case. So there was our upgrade to the title sponsor loyalty. We get a new activity available to them that can show up on the schedule. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility. But let's advance a little bit. Looks like we got a couple, I believe those are researches, development and research, okay. They were completed. Yeah, research complete on the floor stiffening stays.
We've just completed the development of a part, and it's now ready for fitting. But be sure to check in at the assign upgrades screen when you get the chance.
And here's one of the new things, owner training. So you kind of gradually gain experience points, and this will, as you can see, depending on the areas, improve facility improvements. Engineering will have help in research and development, so increased resource points. And in corporate, we got a point in already because that's what we picked as our team principles kind of thing. But since we've got a bunch of development, facility upgrades on the way, let's go ahead and grab this upgrade that will give a boost to everybody's morale when reduces facility improvement time by 10%. So we'll get that done quicker. So what was finished? Development. We're ready on research on the floor stiffening stays. So let's get that development started. Chassis is still in progress. Was it the power unit piece? I think it was a power unit piece that was... Oh, the durability. There we go. Gearbox. And let's see. We should, I think, have... Yes, an open slot in Aero now to start some more research. Which we've got tons of points. I know part of that is because we're last car on the grid, and it follows the same kind of F1 rules where the further down development you are, a little bit more, but I think I might have to dial in the R&D and money a little bit. We'll see how it goes the first season. If it seems wildly easy, we'll make a significant change for the second season. Ooh, research delayed on the plank. Not great.
Have you got a moment? Need your input.
There we go. Oh, controversial product. I mean, it's F1. Everything's a controversial product, right? It's all crypto schemes and nicotine, so we'll be F1. We'll just roll with it. Just be like, hey, they're just a name on the car, right?
Chief, I must remind you that we have parts fully researched that are waiting for development. Let's get that performance on the car.
Oh, nice. Yeah, looks like we got an upgrade ready to assign just in time. Yep, our chassis cable assembly for one car, so we can start building it for the other. It's not going to come till after Bahrain for the other car, though. So 2 races different. And since we're back to kind of even number of parts equipped, I believe this one will go to Joshua Pierce. Is kind of the way I've been doing it. So he's going to get a little bit of weight reduction for Japan. It should work out nicely for him. There we are. Suzuka next weekend up. It's already been recorded, so it'll be another post commentary. But thank you all for joining me once again. I'll see you next time. Peace.